Oh, hi there, didn't see you there. I tell you what, if you come back in a couple of weeks, there's a good chance I might have finished this. Let's get going. Hello there and welcome to episode 10 of this bass guitar rebuild. I thought I'd get on with it today. It's taken a long time to do this bass guitar and I thought I'd better make some progress. So I've sanded the top of this as flush as I can, and I've also had another go at sanding this, so reasonably flush. Cut it out so I can now, I believe, stick this on the top. So that's the first thing I'm going to do today. Now then, I'm quite happy with the inside of this. I think I've got plenty of cavities to run wires through, so I don't think I've got any problem with that. I'm going to be putting in a pickup just behind the neck there, and one, well, near the bridge. So I'm going to be okay. I'm not going to bother filling that. I think that's going to be okay. So I think I'm about ready to glue this on. I've got my clamping table here. Just got to make sure that this is on really tight. Really press it down. Okay, let's get some clamps. Okay, I think I've got everything ready. I'll just brush this off a bit, make sure there's no dust on there. I've noticed that there's a bit of a rock on this because the back is a little bit curved, so I'm going to see if I can put a couple of these pieces of old vinyl flooring here on the sides to stop it rocking so much. I think that should be okay. Okay. Now I know that the important part to clamp down is the middle here, so I may have to think about how I'm going to do that. Let's have a quick mock up here. It's amazing how fiddly it is to glue things down sometimes. I think we're okay. Okay, I'm going to go for it. Well, it looks like it's pretty well seated, so there's nothing else I can do now. So I'm going to put it to one side and leave it to cure. Right, I just want to find my little mermaid flush with the top of the fretboard here. Now, you may remember that I glued this in with some wood glue, and you know, a few people sort of raised questions about that. Now, the glue that I used, the Gorilla Glue, according to the manufacturer's website, will stick metal. Now, that's not to say it will stick aluminium, and indeed this little corner down here popped up, so I've actually poured super glue in all around the end there to really hold her in tight. Everything else looks okay, but well, it's an interesting issue really, what to glue aluminium in with. Hopefully later in this video we will have a little bit more information about that. Anyway, let me just file this down. I think that'll do for now. I've got to profile this neck anyway, so she'll get a good old sanding then. Now then, I want to crack on with this neck, and to do that I need to do a bit of sanding to get this really flat, but my fixture here isn't big enough at this end to hold this base neck, and I sort of got round it the other day by moving the neck this way a bit, but that's rather defeats the object, because it's the neck, the headstock really needs to go off the end there. So I'm going to adjust this end, which is obviously something you can do with a fixture you've made yourself. So if I just move these out a little bit, not a lot. That'll be okay. Right, that's sorted. Okay, so now I can strap the neck in and I'm ready to go. It's actually not bad. What I think I'll do is put a light behind there. Use this torch. Yeah, there's a bit of a gap there. And there's a gap at the end there, so there are a few spots I need to deal with. So, there. Okay, so really I'm dealing with that. Now then, I started with a levelling beam, but then I pretty soon realised that the headstock here drops off a little bit, and that needs to be level with the rest of the neck, because the fretboard's got to go right up to that point at the end there where the nut's going to be. Now, the problem is I've got aluminium there, so I don't want to bugger the plane with aluminium. So what I've done is I've planed from this point forwards or backwards, whichever way you like, and then I'm just going to sand that last bit off. So I'll just do a couple more runs with this plane to get the neck nice and level. I'm taking off really thin pieces there. Now then, let's try this again. That looks really nice. Just this little bit here. So, question just to take it a little bit off this end, and then take a little bit more off with the plane. That's not far off now. It's like all these things, it takes a little bit of time, but it's just worth getting it right because it gives you much more problems later on. Okay, I've been at this for a while now and just got my gauges out here and just tested this. Now, I can get 0.2 of a millimetre just in the very end there. I'll get it into there with that one. But I can't get 0.3 of a millimetre in. So it's between 0.2 and 0.3. So about 1/4 of a millimetre. I think I'm going to call that a day. I'll just check that it's still flush across there. Yeah, that looks okay. I haven't got any twist sticks, but I think it looks pretty pretty flush. Doesn't look like there's a twist in there. Okay, I think it's time for a cup of tea. Sorry, I just had to come out. That's an amazing sunset. Beautiful. Back to the guitar. Now then, before I route the truss rod channel, I just want to make sure of all my measurements. So this is my neck template. Well, this is the scale length, and it's 864mm is the scale length of this guitar. So I'll line that up with the nut there, and that's lined up with the bridge position there. And this line marks the position where the fretboard needs to, the neck needs to be routed to into the body. And I've got my neck bolt template that I use for my other guitars, and I've marked on there now the position of the bolt. So I've got all that sorted out. So now what I need to do is position this template on the top of the neck in line with where the nut should be, which is there. In fact, what I'll do, I'm gonna have to do the centre line again on this neck because I've shaved it off, obviously. That means that the neck bolt should be positioned about there. So I'm going to make a mark in the neck. Now then, here's the truss rod. Truss rod, it's got to go in that way round. It's got to miss that neck bolt. Need to get access to it. So I should be able to fit it in just about there. I think that's going to leave me enough room. So I'll mark that. Right, that's the absolute furthest that way I can go. In fact, I'm going to push it up a bit. Let's do that. Okay, truss rod template. Whoops. Of course, this truss rod template is for 6-string guitars, and it's not long enough. So I need to make myself a new one. Fortunately, I've got a bit of plywood. I'm going to use the existing truss rod template to cut out a new channel on this longer piece of board. So I've screwed it down at this end, and I've screwed this board to this piece of waste. I'll do this part and then I'll move that up and finish it off. Whew, with a very strong smell of burning wood. That's finished. Now I've got a new template. On to route the channel then. Okay. Let's Put some masking tape on this. Okay, some super glue, and let's line it up and stick it down. There we go. Right, while that's just sticking on there, I need to route a channel which is 12mm wide and 10mm deep. So I've got the bit in the router, I've got my little fitting there that's going to run in the slot. So we're all ready to go. Just need to plug that into there, plug the router in. And I think we're nearly ready to go. I think that looks okay. Right, get this off. I'm gonna have to chop a little bit out there, but that looks like it's okay there, and that's sitting flush there. So just need to do a bit of chiseling work at the end there, I think, just to get access to that end. Well, I've managed to get the truss rod fitted there. I've gone and scratched a bit of the top of the headstock there with the file slipping, but I'm going to be covering this with an olive veneer anyway, so that should be all right. Yeah, I think that's looking pretty good. Okay, so here we are. So I think I'm about ready to stick the fretboard on this neck. Let's find the fretboard. I think I'll turn this round and see it a bit better. Okay, I've got the nut at that end, and that needs to be centered down that end, and I've left plenty of room on each side this time to put the binding on. As you'll know, I always forget to leave enough room. But of course, as you can tell, it's getting a bit late in the afternoon, and rather than doing something as delicate as this, where I'm sort of getting a bit tired, I'm going to leave that and do that another day. But I have got something quite important to do. In actual fact, before I stick the fretboard on there, I need to know if that aluminium is going to hold. So I'm going to just tidy up a minute, and then we'll have a look at those test pieces I did last week. Now, if you watched a few of my videos, you'll know that I'm really not trying to teach anybody how to build guitars. There's a lot of people out there who do a really good job at that. Ben Crow at Crimson, and all my guitar building mates, and I've put links to all of their channels in the description. No, I enjoy building guitars, you know, and playing them, as you know, and it's all a bit of fun for me. And it intrigues me when I come across a problem, and like gluing in aluminium, where you know, people are giving advice saying, well, actually you've done it the wrong way. And well, whenever anybody said that to me in the past, I've always sort of thought, well, okay, I'd like to try it myself, you know, just to see what I'm doing wrong. So this little experiment with glue, and if you remember last week I glued 3 pieces of aluminium to this board, and using different methods. On one side, PVA, some wood glue and some mystery glue, and on the other side I used epoxy to glue this thicker piece on. So what I'm going to do is try and break this apart and just basically see what happens inside there. Now I also glued these 2 pieces of wood together with some of my mystery glue, and I'm going to cut this sample into 3 pieces. I'm going to break one now, but I'm going to leave the others, one for next year and one for the year after that. I'm just going to put a pair of additional goggles on. Okay, here we go. Well, that just broke off as easy as pie. So my mystery glue is pretty hopeless. Of course, those of you who guessed what that was knew that was going to happen, didn't you? Right, so let's see how it fared with this. Now, to break this, my idea is to bang one of these wedges in between, well, actually 2 wedges, I think, between the samples until that top piece breaks off. So I've clamped it in the vise. I haven't clamped the top piece in. Get the goggles on, see what happens. Well, I think, as they say, that's the bleeding obvious. These glues have really not stood up to the test against epoxy, and so that proves to me that if I want to stick aluminium on, I should really use epoxy. And the mystery glue, well, yeah, flour and water paste. It's one of those things. When I was a kid, I used to stick all the posters of my favourite pop group, Slade at the time, that dates me, on the wall with this flour and water paste, and my goodness me, what a job it was to get them off. But when it comes to sticking wood and sticking aluminium, do not use flour and water paste. Okay, so now then, what do I do? You see, I've stuck this strip of aluminium in here with the Gorilla wood glue. Now, in fairness, I've been on the Gorilla site, and they do say that you can stick metals with the wood glue. And I think I'm going to take a risk, because I can't bear the thought of having to chop this off, to be perfectly honest with you, to replace it. And I think there's enough wood there to support it anyway. So I think that's what I'm going to do. Look, I very much appreciate the comments that people made about my use of wood glue to stick aluminium a couple of weeks ago, and it really prompted me to make me consider what I was doing. And certainly in the future, if I'm sticking metal to wood, I'm going to be using epoxy, because it's clear to me that that's what you need to do. Anyway, thank you very much for those comments. Please keep them coming. I do appreciate them. I'm learning as I go with this project, as I am with all of these guitar projects. And that's part of the enjoyment as far as I'm concerned. Okay, it's late in the day, so I think I'm going to call time on this. I've got to be laying some flooring this week, so I'm not sure if I'm going to get a chance to come back to this guitar. So I think I'll wrap this video up. Thank you very much for watching. It's getting there. We're starting to pull things together now, so please hang on in there. and hopefully we'll see a finished guitar before too long. In the meantime, stay safe and I'll see you soon.